Well, hello my friends, it's Shawn Petite and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm starting a 4-part series on how I use my collage papers. Look at this cutie we're creating today. But I thought, since I have created a bunch of collage papers over the last few weeks and I've gotten some questions like, okay, great, I love creating them, now what do I do with them? I thought I'd show you what I do with them. So I've got just a regular notebook that I use for my playtime, for experimenting, for workshop ideas. I've got that out here and I've just cut my collage paper down to size. This is just a regular collage paper. It's not one of my favorites, but every piece has wonderfulness in it. I'm using some Liquitex matte gel to put my collage paper down, and I'm using matte gel because it's heavier than fluid matte medium, and because this is paper and it's got a lot of layers on it, I want it to stick down really well. So I put a good coat down on the bottom and on the top and get that all over it so that it sticks down really, really well. I've taken one of my shop towels and I've just kind of pressed it down onto that paper and made sure that it's nice and solid on that journal page, nice and smooth. I will say that I did spray my journal page first with a matte clear sealer so that none of the layers that were on there with like soft pastels would move around once I got going. Now I'm just going to take a little bit of paint and kind of fill in those blank edges. I'm using some golden So Flat in teal and some gesso. I'm using a new gesso today, Utrecht gesso, I think that's how you say it, and trying out that, and then I'm also trying out some Liquitex soft body, and that's the quinacridone magenta color that you see me using now. But our collage papers are a great way to get started in our journals because we have something to respond to already. It's not a blank page. And so I'm pulling out things that I love about this page. So I love the magenta in there, I love the teal in there, and so I'm pulling those colors out to start, and I will continue to do that over the time that I create with it. So I've grabbed my brayer to just kind of brayer off some of that paint because I don't want it to be too pristine. I don't want it to be too heavy. I want it to feel like it's part of that page and not something I've added on. And a brayer is a great way to do that because it'll pick up the paint and make some unpredictable marks and really feel like it's all part of that original collage page. So again, I'm pulling out things that I love from the original collage page, and that kind of dark flower print in the background. I really liked that. I'm not exactly sure why, but it spoke to me. And that's when we're working in our journals, just go with it. Just go with where something excites you. And even if it is nothing and it turns out to be nothing, a nothing page, it's all really good because it's for us. It's our creative time. And so when I sprayed that on and then I stamped with it, I knew that I wanted to stamp some more. So I just sprayed some more onto that daisy. This is the daisy stencil, large daisy stencil, and stamped with it. And I love stamping with my stencils. It allows the layers to show through and really gives really interesting pattern. So I'm just pulling out that original kind of flower pattern that I saw in the background that I laid down. And now I want to kind of bring in my focal point and kind of push some of that background because there's a lot going on. We're simplifying, and we're simplifying with contrasting colors on top of that. So I wouldn't put down a dark paper or a blue paper or a teal paper. I want to put down something that's going to contrast with that background. And I'm feeling spring and the weather's been nice, so I went to my vintage books and pulled out some kind of springy feeling papers, and loved it. And every step of the way always inspires the next step. And so I'm using just a little bit of gesso to kind of go around those papers and kind of go on top of them so that they feel part of the page. They don't feel like they're just stuck on. Plus, it's also further enhancing the focal point and kind of pushing that background back. And I'm going right over my papers so that it all feels cohesive. And now, just like I pulled out the flower pattern, there was this little bit of green in the background that I really loved. And it's just this wonderful pop of color, so I wanted to bring that out. We use our collage papers to help inspire our next layers. And I wanted to kind of further add some contrast. And drips, drops, smudges, marks, finger painting, dots are all great ways to do that. I'm using some golden high flow that's perfect for drips. It has good opacity and yet still drips really well. So I like using golden high flow. So I went to my vintage books and I found words that I was feeling for this page, for right now, for this time. And it says, I can feel the hope. I can feel warmer weather coming. I can feel the world slowly getting back to normal, if we know what that is. I can feel the hope. And so I just cut out some words from my vintage books. And I found this little piece of like torn corner in the book, and it spoke to me for some weird reason. I don't know why, but I decided to just go with it. And that's what our journals are for. Just go for it. Even if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't have to make sense to anybody or even you. If it makes you happy, then go for it. And this little tiny piece of vintage paper made me happy. And so I used it. I've got my fine line applicator out here, and I'm doing my journaling for this page. I'm expressing my hope, my feelings, my gratitude. I'm going to write all of that out. And when we journal in our pages, it really brings the story home. It brings our story to the page. It makes it so personal. And it's just a great way to reflect and write out what we're feeling. I'm using my fine line applicator. And my words don't have to make sense. I can be thinking it and writing every other word. I don't have proper grammar. I just write. And it's so good for the soul. And now I want to just add a tiny bit of kind of a water stain, kind of vintage papery feel. I know we just put all that white down, but it's always in the layers. The layers always make it. And I wanted just a touch of kind of that coffee stain look. I'm using Liquitex acrylic ink in transparent raw umber because that white paper behind the butterflies was very gray and not kind of vintage feeling. And so I wanted to add a little bit of that to that because I loved, and I think that little corner of that book page kind of inspired because it has this wonderful vintage color. And I think that inspired me to put down that ink. And so every piece in our pages always tell our story or give us clues to the next layers. So don't hesitate to put things down. Using my Stabilo Woody pencil to just make some additional marks because I didn't feel like I was done yet. and keep going until you feel like you're done. Even if it doesn't make sense to you or the page is not perfect, it doesn't really matter because this journal page is for you. It's a reflection of you, and take your time and enjoy the process. So I'm adding just a little bit of shading with my General's charcoal pencil to kind of really bring out those words of hope. And I'll add just a tiny little bit of shading around my butterfly and a couple other marks, and that's about it. I'll add my black soft pastel around shading around my edges, and that's really it. So keep an eye out for the other 3 parts of this series of what I do with my collage papers. And I hope it inspired you to use yours and get them out and play. And if you enjoyed today's project, subscribe and like and share and all those wonderful things. And I will see you soon.